You're listening to the Trailblazers.fm podcast, where we'll explore the stories of today's successful Black professionals, entrepreneurs, and leaders. Join us to access the knowledge, resources, and tools of these accomplished professionals and come away with the know-how, confidence, and motivation you'll need to blaze your trail. And now, here's your host, Stephen A. Hart.
Hello and good morning, Blazer Nation. Happy Friday to you. I am so blessed to be alive, to be here today, joined by a good brother who I introduced you all to on Wednesday. My brother, Chris Cochran, is with me in the Trailblazers studio this morning. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning. How you doing?
How you doing, brother?
Doing well.
Yeah. Ready to, I left on the social card on the caption for this post. Many moons ago, I created a different acronym for TGIF, that the Trailblazers grind includes Friday.
Yeah, I believe it.
We never stop going, do we?
Never. Always going.
Never stop going. So, Chris, you have a young one, a young one and a baby in the house.
Yeah.
And I know, in this season, there is so much things that have challenged us in the season of this pandemic. But as you reflect on all that's happening, both in Hacker Valley as well as your life in the broader view, what are you most grateful for in your life right now?
I'm just grateful for health of my family, of myself. That's something that I think a lot of people take for granted is health. It's something you don't really think about until you start to lose it. You start to lose it, whether it's within yourself or you lose it within someone else. And so that's something I constantly think about is just how grateful I am that, we are about a year into this pandemic, and everyone in my family has been okay. No major problems. We were able to move. I'd moved careers, and so far, everything's been good. Everything's been good with the business. So I'm grateful for so many things. How about yourself?
You hit the nail on the head, Chris. You hit the nail on the head. It's been a chat. Like I said this last night to, family. I think this has been the most challenging 12-month period of my life, both physically and mentally. And that mental game can play hard. And so I am extremely grateful for life and for health and for myself as well as for my family. My daughter's getting set to get back into school, and we're still keeping our little guy at home. Right. But I'm happy for her to be able to get back in a classroom setting with her friends. Mm-hmm. At the same time, it made me realize and be grateful, Chris, for those 5 minutes in between classes where she'd run down here and give me a quick hug and run back. Right. And I don't get to have those anymore. Yeah. Chris, you are you've gone through, you just touched on changing careers, and we'll talk about that in a second. But I know you are a lifelong alum of the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Where is home? Because sometimes the Marine Corps will throw things off wherever the world becomes your home. But where'd you grow up?
Yeah. So I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia. That's where I call home. My dad is still there. I visit as often as I can, and even had a short stint where after the Marine Corps, after I started my career, I went back to Atlanta for a short while. But I guess fortunately and unfortunately, destiny had another plan for me. So then we moved to California, and now I'm in the great state of Texas. So the ball just never stops rolling.
I'm adding Chris's Twitter handle to his name there. If you're not connected with Chris, make sure you do so. Man, Atlanta. Where has the Marine Corps kind of taken you? Did you have to spend any time anywhere else overseas?
I did. I spent time in Iraq.
You did.
7 months, and I would say a lot of my gratitude comes from my time over there. I mean, just the living accommodation that I was living in for 7 months made me. There's like these images in my head of, not being able to shower without getting fully dressed and going somewhere else. So I thought about, I was like, wow, when I get back home, I'll be able to get out of bed without putting on any shoes or anything like that and just going and go take a shower. And so it's little things like that I try to hold on to and just be grateful every day, just try to be grateful, even if your circumstances are less than ideal. Just try to be grateful every day. And I think it just makes life a little bit better.
Yeah. Yeah. Good morning to everybody joining us. I see quite a number of folks over on LinkedIn. Good morning, Kelly. Good morning, Annette. Good morning, Ricky. Appreciate you guys rocking with us, hanging with us this morning. So Chris, you left the Marine Corps. How long has it been since you actually stepped away from the Corps?
I stepped away from the Corps in 2011. So like 10 years.
Wow.
Long time.
Is that what brought you to Cali?
No. So I got out of the Marine Corps and I stayed in Maryland for another, what was it? Like 7 years or something like that. I just began my career largely in the government. I started my own company supporting government entities. And eventually my stepmom, who basically raised me because I live with my dad, she was diagnosed with cancer. And so packed my whole family up and moved down south back to down to Atlanta to spend time with her. Luckily, she's pulled through. We stayed down there until she was in remission. And then that's when Netflix came calling. And I was just, loosely playing with it. I was like, there's no way I'll get a role at Netflix. But lo and behold, I got the role. And so then I packed up my family once again and we went to California.
Wow. Man, you've traveled, quite a bit. And it's one thing to be moving around in the Corps. I imagine it's a completely different thing to have to uproot the family and be moving family around. Most recently, I guess in that transition from Netflix to Texas, what was that like? And how has it been? You probably moved right before the pandemic got started, if I'm not mistaken.
It was right when everything started. We weren't even planning on moving when the pandemic started. But I got an opportunity to work with this company called Marqeta, a really fast growing financial technology company. And we thought that if we're going to be able to live from anywhere, we should probably move out of the Bay Area. Just because the cost of living was so incredible. And we wanted to be a little bit closer to family. We wanted the ability to have my dad move into the area with my stepmom. And in California, that just wasn't possible. I mean, my dad was looking at, how much he would have to make because he's been a garbage man since I was a young kid. Like that's what he's done. He's done waste management. And there was just no way that he was going to come to California and be able to live with us and spend time with his grandkids without that. So we said Texas is a nice in between, right? Close enough to California where I can hop a flight, and get there not too long. Yeah. But also be affordable enough for my dad and my family to move into the area. And so we could all be together.
And you enjoying life there so far?
Life is good. We haven't been able to experience it and all the things that comes with because of the pandemic. But hopefully, everything's going to be, done. Everyone's going to get vaccinated. Some herd immunity is going to happen. And then I'll be able to take my kids out and play with other kids. And that's something we can't wait for.
I hear you, man. I hear you. So listen, we brought you here. I remember my dear colleague and good friend, Jen Santiago, big up Jen, introduced me to Chris and Ron and said, listen, you have to meet these two guys. They're doing amazing things. And, we've just connected from that point forward. And I've watched, you pretty much from almost the inception of Hacker Valley, and just seen you doing just amazing off the wall things in this podcasting space that really, you hear so many people say, think outside the box. And I feel like every time I talk to you, you are clear outside the box in an amazing way. And so let's maybe dial back. What fueled this idea for Hacker Valley?
Yeah, so the original idea, this idea for Hacker Valley, because I'm in cybersecurity, we thought about cybersecurity professionals. We're mental athletes. We're playing chess every single day, all day long, with no off season, no breaks. So what are the things that we should be doing from a human perspective to be better every single day? So I started thinking about, how do chess grandmasters, how do they train? How do they study? How do they focus? How do they beat their opponent, right? And so we were thinking about all the things that Ron and I love to do. We love to self-experiment. We love to better ourselves. And it's not, we don't try to boil the ocean and try to get better all in one day. We try to get better every single day, just by little teeny increments. And that's the same thing we did with this podcast. So we focused on helping other people. We focused on getting the information that other people might be able to use in their day-to-day life. And here's a big secret, that our podcast isn't just about cybersecurity. It's not even close. I believe that just about anybody can listen to the show, even if they've never even heard of cybersecurity, and get some wisdom out of it. So that's kind of our sneaky way of giving our cybersecurity practitioners some of their vegetables, stuff that's good for their heart, good for their soul, good for their mind. And yeah, that's really where it started. And also, I love having conversations. I love talking to brilliant, powerful, and innovative people, and being able to go as deep as possible. And podcasting is one of the best ways to do that.
I love that, man. I as a podcaster, you touched on it. I often liken it to having gotten another degree, but in life, through the experiences of others, right?
Right.
One of the things that I cherish most in these conversations, because everyone sees the success, but could you maybe talk about some of the lessons? And I used to say failures, but of course these things happen every single day, right, Chris?
Yep.
But where have you kind of hit some roadblocks along the path, and kind of what were the lessons coming out of them that have really kind of helped your growth?
No, absolutely. I sometimes it's hard for me to like capture all of the failures, because I never let them register as failures. They are always like learning lessons. Every time it's a learning lesson. So
absolutely.
I remember in the very beginning, we did zero work when it came to understanding what podcasting was, the who, the what, the how, any of that stuff. We just hopped on these cameras. We had 2 camera angles. We were in the same room. We had like 2 camera angles. We were across from each other, like talking. We had these terrible angles where the angle's like down here, like up at my double chin here. And it was still great conversation, but our product was not clean, like whatsoever. And we gave it to a couple of people, and some podcasters was like, what the heck are you guys doing? Are you guys in the same room? Like, why are you doing video? Is there a reason for you to do videos? And so we were like, okay, yep. Taking that feedback and constantly like improving upon what our product was. So then we started saying, all right, maybe this is all audio. So we brought it to audio. And we had like a little like sound bite in the very beginning, but that wasn't really like an intro. We would just go into the show. But like slowly but surely, like, okay, maybe we should add some music in the beginning. So we add the music. Like, okay, maybe we should talk over the music a little bit to let everybody what the show is about. And maybe we should transition from that intro to a synopsis of what the listener is going to get to in the beginning. Or maybe we should add some stuff on the end to give them a call to action. Maybe we want them to do something. And so it's these little things over and over and over again. And that's really where greatness comes from, is those small changes over time. Because people feel like it's going to come in a day. You talk about pod fade. Pod fade is when people stop podcasting after 7 episodes because it's difficult. But if you stick with something anything, whether it's podcasting, sports, cybersecurity, entrepreneurship. If you constantly just stick and you sit in that horse and you get better and better over time, eventually you'll have something great.
Man, you better preach that word. And that goes for life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if for those listening in right now and you are not a podcaster, you're not a creative, I think the same applies, but that consistency. They say content is king. I think in podcasting and in creating content, consistency is the key. I remember prior to the pandemic, leading up to January 6th of 2020, I had 205 consecutive Monday mornings of showing up to publish a podcast at 5 a.m. on a Monday morning. And that is what, I pride myself on most, right? Is there are many Sunday nights that, I'd find myself in San Diego working an event and have no episode for Monday morning at 5 and pull it all night out just to hit publish at 5 a.m. And so Ricky is saying, his cousin is asking if he ever sleeps. Here's the thing, though. I will say in this season, the one thing that I've learned is that, I used to be all about the hustle. I used to be all about the hustle. And this season has taught me that it's okay at times to pause and rest, right? To allow your mind to rest. And I've had to address that challenge in my always turning entrepreneurial brain. Do you find time to shut it down, or you find yourself always going?
It's not only okay to pause and rest, it's mandatory. If you want to perform at your best, every single day you got to pause and rest. I would say that's something I'm currently working on. I'm constantly pushing, growing, thinking. Sometimes my thoughts like get me out of bed. I'm like thinking at 4 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes it's the baby, but so a lot of times it's just me like thinking and about possibilities and creativity. So you have to find that time. And in fact, this weekend, what I'm going to do, I'm going to clean up my calendar, find some time for some self-care. Self-care is important. We were on a podcast called Self-Care for Extremely Busy Women. Ron and myself, and we talked about self-care. We talked about meditation. We talked about all the things that we do to try to stay sharp, fitness, working out, eating right. And of course, there's like varying degrees of success across the board, but sleep and rest is something that's super important. And you have to prioritize that, because if you keep flooring it, you keep pushing that, you keep throttling that engine.
Break. Yeah,
something's going to break. And then all of a sudden you're not doing anything anymore. There are no podcasts coming out. You're not writing your book anymore. You're not having fun talking and playing with your kids, because just the thought of being able to muster up energy is just impossible. You don't want to get to that point. So taking care of that vehicle, taking care of that engine, taking care of yourself is super, super important. And rest is a huge part of that.
That's a gem right there. I hope everybody listening just take some time this weekend to do something in this season. There are times where I've done stuff for the first time, right? Like I went hiking up a mountain in Northwest Maryland, where, I'm finding new parks to just go chill in and hike and get away and shut my brain off. And then at other times it might just be, taking a morning walk in the cold and leave the phone, leave everything, just allow your mind to have some time, some peace. Could be 10 minutes, but get that time, take care of yourself, especially as Black men. I think that's important, right?
Absolutely.
And speaking to that much more. But Chris, the one thing, and first off, let me do this. Let's just give a quick plug to We Are Here. Right. We Are Here. Chris has created this amazing initiative here. Chris, speak to this real quick for me.
Yeah, this project meant so much to me, and it's almost finished. We have one more part that's going to be coming out next week, but We Are Here. It's this incredible project where we talk about Black excellence in cybersecurity. We start the whole thing off with Patrice Washington, a friend of both you and I, And
Yes.
we talk about her incredible story and all of the learnings that could apply, not just to cybersecurity professionals or even entrepreneurially all people. And then the big main event was this conversation, this powerful, honest, and very transparent conversation about being Black in technology, being Black in cybersecurity. And that's with Kelvin Coleman, Charles Nwatu, Tia Hopkins, and AJ Yan, and of course my great co-host Ron Eddings. And then we're going to wrap everything up next week with a great conversation with Congresswoman Yvette Clarke. We've interviewed her before, but this time into her background, her story, and really give people a glimpse into her life and let everyone know that we are here. We don't have to be entertainers or sports professionals, and there's nothing wrong with that, but that's not the only avenues for excellence in the Black community, and we just want to show people that.
I love that, Chris. Big up for that, for the work you're doing. And in building Hacker Valley, one of the things, I've so much respect for you on is just, again, coming outside the box and doing these different types of content pushes. You'll batch content. I used to batch interviews. I never thought about batching and publishing a whole series of content in the way you have, or looking at the way you and Ron have used, just different media, using media in different ways. Because we're new media heads, right? We're constantly leveraging, whether it's podcasting or it's video or it's live stream. We're utilizing these new media channels to build our media empires, right? If you will. Yeah. How has this helped you to build your brand and your business?
I would say I wouldn't have a brand, and I definitely wouldn't have a business without this new media construct. I feel like I really began doing anything with the community at Sands. I had a lightning talk. Jen Santiago was there in the crowd. I did a 5-minute spiel. I just hopped up on stage and talked a little bit about the things that I knew. I was like, maybe I know something. I could share it with the world. And immediately after the talk, Jen reached out to me and was like, hey, we got to stay in touch. Great speaker. We got to do more together. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe there's something to this. Then I go to Netflix, and I was decent on LinkedIn at the time. And then I did a post, and it went viral, like a million views. It was just incredible. And it's not something I planned to do. You can't really plan to go viral. Like, oh, this one's going to go viral. And
yeah.
You'll probably be met with a couple reshares and a couple likes. So don't try to go viral. But when I did, I said, I'm going to use this momentum. This is catch me outside. How about that moment for me, right? This is the moment where I was like, okay, maybe I can leverage this for good. Maybe I could build something from this. And so we started producing content through videos, and then we transitioned to the podcast, and then we came back to videos and live streams. And everything I've done recently, now I'm at the National Security Institute. I'm advisor for companies. I have this job. I'm a part of a group of leaders, and that's how I got the job that I have now, because of the podcast, because of the content that I put out on LinkedIn. Everything that is going on in my life right now, the reason why I'm in Texas in this beautiful house is because of the stuff that I've done in new media. So I feel like that really this has created a completely new platform for me to operate, for me to do good, for me to show my passion, my purpose, my superpower, all in one. And new media is really what allowed me to do that.
Do you think that it's something for the entrepreneurs who are maybe watching us and saying, man, that's cool for y'all. Maybe y'all have a tech wiring. You have, cybersecurity tilt, and Stephen, your marketing. Is this something that the average entrepreneur can take hold of and leverage to be able to bring awareness to their brand, to their personal brand and or their business?
Absolutely. All it takes is a little creativity. All you have to do is think about, how do you reach people where they are? Like, what is the content that would resonate with people? There's a book called Start With Why by Simon Sinek. And it, pushing products or services isn't about like saying, hey, look at all these features or look at over here. It's about reaching the people that believe what you believe or getting people to believe what you believe. So if you believe that your product is innovative and can help people that have a certain plight or a certain thing that they're just like, this just is not fixed, but you have the solution, approach it with that. Approach your content with that mindset. Like, I know people are going to understand this content. They're going to relate to this content because this content is them. I'm speaking directly to them. So I feel like anyone that has any type of business can do something just like that. You just have to be a little creative.
And to expand on what Chris just said, if you are thinking about putting anything out there, whatever your product or service, and for the business professional, this speaks to you as well. You are your product. Everyone is not your audience. Everyone is not your audience. You really need to isolate who it is that you're trying to speak to. Who is that one person or that small group of people who you really want to connect with most? And you begin by thinking about, what problems are they having? What's keeping them up at night, right? Now, how can you help to create content that serves them, that helps them, that, provides that solution that they're in need of? And that in and of itself is that valuable content that Chris talked about. Not thinking like, oh, I'm going to create something that's going to go viral, but I'm going to create something that impacts just that one person that I'm thinking of, and knowing and believing that, when you create that piece or those pieces of content over time, more people who are like-minded that you're trying to serve will connect, and say, hey, you know what? You need to listen to Chris, or you need to listen to Stephen, or you need to listen to Annette or Alston or anyone else, right? That you will be able to create awareness of the product, whether that's you or it's a service or a physical product that you have. And then slowly, through consistency and time, things start to build. How has this now? So you've been able to build a brand. You've been able to garner the awareness through the podcast and through the videos. Has that actually translated into profit, into you being able to now build this?
Absolutely. I don't think without the brand, let's say I had the content exactly the way it was, but the content just sat there. I just produced good content. We left it alone. We didn't do anything on LinkedIn. We didn't do these crazy marketing campaigns that we do, and we just left it there. Would I be able to garner the revenue that I do today? I would say absolutely not. Absolutely not. One of the selling points that our platform is how engaged our audience is with our content, with us as individuals. That's one of the things that really perks up the vendors that we talk to, our partners. That's a good selling point, because now they see that if we do business with these folks, we know that we're going to have attention, right? You talk about content is king. The reason content is king is because you have people's attention. Yes. Attention is the number one thing in business these days. So if you can garner people's attention, and not in a sleazy way, there's right and wrong ways to get attention from my perspective. Like there's the way that you can get people's attention by giving them information, empowering people, motivating people, inspiring people. And then you have other ways of getting attention that might not be so good and probably wouldn't be good for profits. But if you can do it the former, and you could do that, and you can build these relationships with folks, you'll be able to get profits easily.
I love it. Chris, I could keep going for another 30 minutes with you. And I knew it would be a challenge to keep this to that half hour sweet spot. I promise, for those listening, we will have Chris back on at a future point to keep this dialogue going. Chris, there are a couple of things that Blazer Nation loves to hear from our featured guests. And so the first thing I wanted to ask is about your resources, right? You touched on Simon Sinek, Start with Why. Great book. Is there any other books that you're reading right now or that you've read recently that you think we should add to a reading queue?
Oh, The Blueprint that it's just a book that just came out, but it's a subject that I've studied for a long time. It's about flow. It's about peak performance. It's called The Art of the Impossible by Steven Kotler. Actually just had the opportunity to interview Steven last week. So that episode is going to be coming out here in a couple weeks or so. But he's a neurobiologist, and so he knows all about the brain and what it takes for peak performers, champions, authors, high-level performers to be able to be their best on any given day. And so that is like the blueprint. Like if you could just put that in your head and you understand your purpose and your passion, you really can't go wrong. You'd be unstoppable.
Love that. I'm just going to give a plug to our sister, our fellow Chris and I are in a mastermind group together, and or sister of the group, Minda Hearts, just put her book out for pre-order right within. Go ahead, hop on Amazon, pre-order that book today. I'm just giving that plug for Minda here. Chris, last question for you, and I'll let you get started on your day. What's one action that our Blazer Nation can take this week that's going to help them to blaze their trail?
Help somebody today. And that could be as simple as just reaching out and checking in on somebody. I feel like in the very beginning of this pandemic, that's something I kind of clung to is, check in on people, because you don't know what people are dealing with. Everyone's in their house, they might be dealing with their kids on a day-to-day, basis. They're dealing with Zoom and all this stuff. And I feel like now is the best time to really connect with people, even though you can't see them physically. Hop on a call with them, and it doesn't have to be, you don't have to get dressed and all that craziness, but just hop on or give somebody a call, shoot somebody a text, let them know you're thinking about them. And I think that would go a long way. And the more people do that, it'll become contagious, and other people will check on other people. And I feel like, we're at, I see the light at the end of the tunnel with this pandemic stuff. But I feel like as long as we can get there together, I think we'll be ready to give each other hugs and put this whole nightmare behind us.
I give you a joke before I let you go. I was in the car the other day and my mind is going well, right? I ran to the store and I'm coming back, and a good friend of mine hit me up, gave me a call, and we're talking. And Chris, I got back to the house. I went to go pick up some food for the wife, and I come back. And, I pull up to the garage, and it was such a pleasure to have a connection with somebody, right? That's not in the throes of, like the wife and the kids and, dealing with all the chaos inside the house. But, the running joke is, if you open our garage door, everybody knows you're back. Right. So I pull back up to the garage door, and I'm sitting there for like 10, 15 minutes just talking on the phone, right? In the car. And it's just peace. Talking about self-care. That was my self-care for 10 minutes. Right.
Right.
So that you spoke a word, man, is connecting with somebody and just checking in, because sometimes we just need that conversation, right? Outside of this routine that we find ourselves in the pandemic, this bubble that sometimes we find ourselves in. Chris Cochran, you are a blessing, my brother.
Thank you.
One last push for everybody. Go ahead, check out Hacker Valley. Chris, where can they access your podcast?
Yeah, you could access it in any platform that you listen to podcasts. Definitely check out hackervalley.com. We can have other resources. We have a lot of our books and stuff on our website. We have our other podcast shows that we produce. We would love to hear from you. Reach out. We love to chat with folks that listen to our show. So reach out on LinkedIn, reach out through the website, and we'd be glad to hear from you.
Love it. Chris, you're a blessing, my brother. I appreciate you.
Thank you. You're a blessing.
Enjoy the weekend.
You too.